Welcome to my Barossa kitchen again, home, and this is our second one. So homespun it will always be, but hopefully I'll get better every day. I'm very much at the moment into vegetables and dairy. Just everyone knows how to pan fry a piece of fish or chicken or put it on the barbecue or whatever. I want to show you beautiful ways with vegetables and how dairy gives us the protein, because every meal, all through the day, every time we eat, we should have some protein because we need more. Now, are you looking at my apron? I have quite a collection of aprons, but this I'm very proud of. Years ago, I did a little gig with Kath and Kim, and I know my grandchildren really thought I'd made it. So, thanks Kath and Kim. So, fun in the kitchen is good. It's part and parcel of life. Here, I want to do this dish where I'm going to put the onions into the oven, and then I'm going to time how long they cook, because I want them to cook quite slowly, and slowly brings out the natural sugars in the onion. But there's lots to tell you first. This is how most of you will buy your onions, good brown onions. And that's absolutely fine. It just so happens from my garden, I have these that have been hanging in the shed. And the thing that I learned just on the weekend was, always I've been told that when you have the onion already sprouting, that it's bitter. Well, can I tell you, it must depend on how you cook it, because that's not quite showing. I'll get one that has, see, I've been storing them properly. I can't get one to show you the sprouting. See how they pull apart, these beautiful red onions. I'm not bothering to do anything but take a bit of the paper off the edges. I'm not trying anything else. The reason I'm not cutting this one but cutting that is I want them to cook about the same time. So by having them about the same, you can see. So everyone will be in judgment, and yes, they do make your eyes water. But I want to find one with a... found one. See, I've always been told, every time I've cooked for 40 years, that this green would be, which is the sprouting for the next germination for the next season, am I using the right term, is bitter. But when you bake it slowly like this, it's not. So I'm always looking for, if I say the easiest way, you'll think I'm lazy, but I always like to challenge myself. How can I make a job easier? Simpler, forget easy. So there we are. They're all about the same size. I might take a bit off the top and the bottom. A bit more. That's a bit big. Whew. I might leave that one because I'm already having my eyes water. I just put those down there to show you, but now I'm going to put them all in here, and I'm going to strip some rosemary. I have lots of rosemary in the garden, and in fact I have hedges of it, but one of the things, it grows in the ground better than it grows in a pot, and it doesn't need a lot of water. So even though it will grow in a pot, always better in the ground. Okay, and hold and whoops, hold and strip. Now, just enough olive oil to just cover. Oh, where did salt. Oh, here. Just a bit of salt. And I'm going to lay them out on here. Well, that could be a little bit smaller because it's very bulbous. Again, I want them to cook at the same time. So you can adapt. Adapt with what you have to work with and what seems important. Okay, so at this stage, runny eyes, I'm putting them into the oven, which I have heated on 180 degrees. And from now, I will time. I need a tissue. Oh. Ah. Oh. Now, I don't want you to be horrified. These are not overcooked. They're burnished. In our family, everyone teases me, and whenever I take something to really full colour, I just call it Frenched, because when the French make pastries and bread, they love to have really almost burnt edges. And vegetables, baked vegetables, really work with almost burnt edges. And what you're seeing, of course, is I'm now going to separate out now I'm going to separate out the skins. Now you could do this beforehand. I've got asbestos fingers, so I can do it now. But I rather like the fact that it can go into the oven so quickly, and then you just, I have just changed my mind. I am going to chop the parsley while this cools just a little bit. Did I tell you that I'm a very frenetic, haphazard sort of cook? You're getting the picture? We don't have anyone in the background doing the prep, doing the wash up. So what you see is what you get. So it's just like I cook at home, and I hope that's what you like too. All right, let me just take the skins off. I'll use a pair of tongs. Oh, having a big, just a little tip for your kitchen, this is the best thing. My drawer of flat implements just under my stove saves me so much time. Okay. Here. Now what we have is, because these have cooked long and slow, and because they're beautifully burnished, they will be so sweet. Now this is definitely a side dish, although I could make a meal of it in different ways, and I'll mention that. Oops. It's getting cool enough now I can handle them. And if you're going to use your hands like I do with my cooking, because I can feel it and I've done it all my life, just be fastidious about making sure you're washing them before you start. All of these things help us with this terrible virus we're working with. Okay. Now I'll just get the rest of them. So while I'm doing this, I'll tell you the alternatives. For Colin, he would like this as a side dish to a lamb chop on the barbecue. And me, as much as I love lamb chops, I don't often eat them, and I could easily make a lovely meal out of this by cooking chickpeas. And once I have the vinaigrette and the Persian feta that I'm going to use, by putting chickpeas through it, it would become a whole meal instead of a side dish. It's called using your imagination and your pantry. Okay. All right. So they cooked for half an hour at 180 degrees. And if I put my hand on my heart, I should say I should have taken them out at least 5 or 10 minutes earlier, given I made them into such small pieces. But I'm going to love them just like this. Okay, they've already had some oil on them when they were cooked. And now this is the trick I use with onions. Onions and other veg I'll get to are so wonderful with a little bit of vinacotto. Now, if you've got some balsamic in your cupboard, that will do exactly the same thing, but be very judicious with it. Just nothing more than, I guess I've used about a teaspoon of that. Lots of the parsley and just enough, just another spoonful of the extra virgin olive oil. And then I will pile it up here. Some Persian feta. Now the reason I use Persian feta for this is because I had it in the fridge. I could just as easily ricotta, or if you can find quark. Quark is something I got used to when I was in my 20s and lived in Scotland. It's an amazing product and made here in South Australia and elsewhere as well. It's a soft cheese, but it's so full of protein. Looks a little bit like, we also called it crowdy, I think, in Scotland. So here you are, a side dish. All the deliciousness and protein if you're going to make it into a meal, or a side dish for a lamb chop. It's just so sweet and tasty, yet with the vinacotto or the bit of balsamic from your cupboard, gives it an edge.